Today's story was written by Reddit user Burden Nequester. The Ek and Oot were two sentient races that evolved on planets in the same system. The ecosystems of their separate planets evolved in isolation from each other, and their body chemistries were unrelated and incompatible with each other. Neither race was physically capable of living unaided in each other's biosphere. The Ek's planet's atmosphere was clear and observation of the night sky was a major cultural interest. The Ek evolved to a Bronze Age level of civilization first, and were the first of the two races to observe that the other planet was inhabited. They decided that the Oot were their enemies. The existence of a nearby enemy provided a major impetus for the development of their technology. They were desperate to destroy the Oot before the Oot destroyed them. The Oot's planet's upper atmosphere was covered by a thin but persistent cloud layer that made observation of the night sky difficult and not particularly interesting. Instead of being spurred by the fear of their distant enemies, the Oot fought each other. The arts of war, close up and personal, were the driving force for their technological development. The Ek developed rocketry with the intention of sending a powerful weapon to strike the Oot. Their first attempt was a spectacular failure that destroyed not just the rocket, but an enormous part of the surrounding countryside. The flash of the explosion was powerful enough to be clearly visible even on the daylight side of the Oot's planet, and to totally light up the countryside on the part of the planet that was at night. The Oot recognised that there were people on the planet of the Ek. These people were not Oot, therefore they were an enemy. Technology on both sides developed extremely rapidly from that point. The Ek sought to recover from their disastrous first attempt at an attack, and the Oot sought to return fire. Due to planetary dynamics, attacks and counterattacks each had their season, with the time of greatest practicability being when the planets passed each other in orbit. At first they spent roughly 10 months out of every 40 fighting, and the other 30 months recovering and preparing for war. The 30-month interregnum periods were times of massive and rapid technological advance. Both developed orbital platforms, both developed shielding technologies. Orbital bombardments were an occasional feature of their conflicts, but each would leapfrog in technology to make each bombardment of their own planet impossible. Once both sides had sufficient spaceborne assets, the pace of the conflict grew, continuous and unrelenting. 1,000 years of conflict came to an abrupt end when a small alien craft entered their system. Neither the Ek nor the Oot had ever considered the possibility that life existed outside of their stellar system. The ship sent a message across every broadcast medium in the home planets of the Ek and the Oot. All communication systems were totally disrupted by the message, which appeared in the local language of whoever was using the communication system. It said simply, "We have received a noise complaint." After several minutes of confused silence, various entities on the Ek and the Oot homeworlds and their various spaceborne assets responded with the equivalent of, "What?" The craft responded, "We have received a noise complaint from various neighbouring systems. Activities in the system are generating noise across all local electromagnetic bands and disrupting some of the common traffic systems in regulated hyperspace bands. I am empowered to make sure that this situation does not continue." The alien craft was very small compared to the spaceborne assets of the Ek and the Oot, so they sought to brush it aside with a bombardment from their secondary weapons. There was a huge explosion at the location of the small craft, but the ship simply slipped to a different location before the moment of impact. The Ek tried what they considered to be their ultimate manoeuvre, which was designed to take out a major space station with heavy shields. A staged spherical bombardment with the explosions in the 60 megaton range, which converged on the alien ship's location. To their immense surprise, this had no effect on the little ship. It responded, "This is exactly the type of thing that gave rise to the noise complaint. Stop it immediately, or I'll be forced to take punitive action." Both the Ek and the Oot fleets opened fire with all weapons. The little ship responded with, "I warned you. Now I will take action." Every ship or station that fired at the alien ship simply disappeared. At first it looked like a massacre, but ship-to-ship communication systems continued to function, and the missing ships reported their locations to the fleet. They had been grounded on their respective homeworlds. Major space stations found themselves floating in oceans, smaller vessels found themselves on relatively clear pieces of ground. Grounded ships had effectively been destroyed as fighting assets, but they experienced no casualties. Within a few minutes, both the Ek and the Oot broadcast signals of surrender. For the first time, they requested information on the identity of the opponent that had, so comprehensively, outclassed and defeated them. The response was extremely embarrassing. This is Park Ranger Tony Jones of the Confederation Parks and Wildlife Service. This is my job to make sure that everyone has the chance to enjoy this nature reserve without undue interference from other park goers. I do not plan on taking any further action at this time, but in future, I ask that you respect other users of this pristine wilderness location and respect your noise-making activities to avoid disturbing others. With that message, the little alien craft left the system, leaving the Ek and the Hoot both chastened and mortified.